Hey, shalom, 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 shalom. I want to start off this lesson by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Rechak, Wadash, double honors unto my elders and apostles of great millstone, which are the men that rule well and taught us his truth. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect, as always. And I wanted to do this. This is literally on the spot as I can make it. You know, I'm literally on my lunch break at the plantation right now. And I'm going to play a few seconds of this Christian that is losing sleep on the Hebrew Israelites, because as usual, another Christian is responding to us, and now they're making claims and going into breaking down the word cosmos all wrong. But this video is not about that. This video is about what this fool is going to say, because and these are Johnny come latelys, you know. Even though with this guy, at least he has videos that are 10 years old. And I don't even know if he actually made those videos himself or just uploaded them or something like that. But he's going to say something about, you know, not giving us the factor that we're the Israelites, you know, basically. Because he said he thinks we're going to get uncomfortable with that question. Well, no, we're not. That's the beginning of this truth, right? Because I'm gonna speak about this from a perspective of somebody who is teaching somebody who is new. All right. When you first learn about the truth, the first thing that you learn is how you're an Israelite. Because this guy, faithful unto God, I don't know his real name, says that the basis of our doctrine is endless genealogies. That's not true. We don't have the genealogies to trace. We don't have the physical. We know that we are Israelites through the Spirit. And I'm going to break down what I mean by that. And I'm just going to grab precepts off the top of the dome, so to speak, all right, through the Spirit. How about that? All right, because I don't have any precepts lined up. I'm gonna just go to my Bible app, and I'm gonna get precepts as the Spirit feeds me them while I play the first few seconds of this, or the first minute.
When you're talking with the Hebrew Israelite that says something like that, they're presupposing they're Israelites. They feel confident that they're Israelites. You want to make them uncomfortable. You want to make them lack confidence in their identity claim.
And we don't lack confidence in our identity claim, because our identity claim, you see, that's the thing, man. I'm going to stay on topic, though. But our identity claim, right, that doesn't make us uncomfortable. At least not here at Great Millstone, because it all boils down to faith. At the end of the 24, our belief is faith. Yes, we are faith-based Israelites. Maybe these other camps might be on some other shit, right? But for the most part, we are a faith-based camp. We know that we're Israelites because of what the scriptures say. All right? So, and I'm going to keep it basic. I'm not even going to go super deep. I'm going to bring out stuff that I learned when I first came up. And he's talking about this makes them uncomfortable. And their identity claim. Well, how come you never asked the small hats to prove that they're Israelites? Because what, you're going to ask them to prove it through a DNA test. DNA don't mean a damn thing. That shit it's false, man. All right? We don't believe in that. We believe in the Spirit of the Lord. So I'm going to play a little more of it.
So what you want to do when they start saying all that stuff is you ask them to prove that they're Israelites. And then you put them on the spot. You ask them the question about what's their evidence of being an Israelite.
And do that, you know, because well, for one, actually, because we're not here to debate who we are. We already broke down everything that the Christian church has come up against us with. We've already broken it down. You know, we have the truth. You guys are coming. That's why you guys are coming. That's why your content now is based on us. Look at all this guy's content. Hebrew Israelites, Hebrew Israelites, Hebrew Israelites. Look at all your content is talking about us. Hebrew Israelite. This random dude. You know what I mean? It's all, your whole channel is based off of us. And your channel's named Faithful to God. Why is all of your content based on us? Look, everything. Every little one, every single video. So, we have the answers. That's the thing. We're, for one, what are you teaching people to debate us for? Why don't you go to the streets and preach your doctrine? Right? Or in your church, you know, talking about don't make this mistake. There's nothing you can do against the truth. All right, let me play a little bit more, because I'm gonna get some scriptures, because that's the most important thing. See, that's the difference between us and Christians, is we're about the Bible. You Christians are about nothing. You just now started reading precepts. You just started going into words in the last 5 years. You know, you Christians are brand new to using blue letter like that. You guys don't go into words, man. Never. You guys take everything for face value and read whole chapters and think you know the breakdown. Let me play a little bit more.
And then you'll notice that the energy will go from extremely confident to very uncomfortable.
Not true, man. The whole, when you come into the truth, the very first thing you learn is how you're an Israelite according to the Holy Bible. That's the first thing, at least the first thing you're supposed to learn. You know, how to prove you're an Israelite. Let's play it.
Very quickly, because they don't want to get into that subject.
Actually, we get into it all the time. We literally, every time we have a new believer, that's the first thing that they learn, what I'm about to bring out. So I'm gonna I don't want to play too much of that because I've been rambling. I want to get some scriptures, and I'm gonna keep it basic. I'm gonna keep it so basic, man, that, and you know what, I'm gonna go to the New Testament too. This is Romans 8 and verse 16. It says, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. Now, a lot of people like to talk mess about us, but this is the basics. The basics is our fundamentals as people of the Lord. You see, because you like to say, oh, you're claiming to be Jewish. We're not claiming to be no daggone Jewish, man. We're claiming to be the Israelites of the Holy Bible from our respective tribes. All right? So the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So that means that the things contained within the scriptures prove who we are. All right? And it's the Spirit, because I was actually meditating upon this this morning, because last night before I awoke, you know, before the sun came up, right? Before going to bed, I was like, yo, I want to start revisiting the tribe breakdowns. I haven't done that in a while. And I was rereading Genesis, the 49th chapter, a few precepts. And I was like, wow, if you don't have the Spirit of the Lord, you don't understand this. Because when you go into Genesis, the 49th chapter, all right, that lets you know who the tribes are. That lets you know what tribe is which. Okay, but you have to have the Spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai guiding you. Right? Because the scripture says, well, here, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. What is the Spirit? The words of the Lord, right? The words of the Lord contained within it are the very things that prove who we are. For example, the curses that befell us and the prophecies, because at one point they were prophecies. The things that befell us were prophecies. When you go into Genesis, the 49th chapter, and it's all spiritual this morning, because this morning when I woke up thinking about the exact same thing. I went to sleep thinking about the tribes, and I woke up thinking about going over the tribes breakdown all over again. So I went into the archives, and I was listening to the apostles breakdown on Ephraim and Issachar, and they were bringing out the Bible basics, you know. And when you read Genesis 49, what did it say? It said that, you know, gather together unto me my sons. What did Israel say to his sons? He said, I will tell you what shall befall you in the last days. You know, letting you know that those things that he was going to say were prophetic. At one point, they were prophecies. Now that those things happened, this just the Spirit of the Lord is working with our minds to understand why those things were said, right? That's why we're able to differentiate. That's why we're able to say who Levi is. That's why we're able to say who Judah is, who Benjamin is, who Ephraim is, who Issachar is, who Manasseh is, who Gad and Reuben are. Okay, who Asher is. That's why we're able to do that. Because we have what? The Spirit of the Lord. So the Spirit itself bears witness. The words contained within the scriptures bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. Right. And what's the most basic breakdown of it? Go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. It's so simple. It's so simple. See, this is how we prove who we are. It's not some complex thing. We don't go into genealogies. You know, I know I'm an Israelite. I know I am a descendant of those men that are spoken of in the Holy Bible, as well as my brothers that camp with me. We know we're descendants of those men, not because of some genealogy. You know what I'm saying? We know because of what is contained within the Holy Bible. We know because these things that were written, all right, befell our people. You see? and various other things. It ain't just, it is the curses. Obviously, we go there first. But there's other things. And if the Spirit allows, I'm gonna get into it because I have about 20 minutes left. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I'm gonna start at 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments which I have commanded thee. And this is me reading the words of the Lord to prove who we are. Yes, we can do that. We don't need a DNA test. I don't need a DNA. I don't have the documents to prove that I'm from this man, from this tribe, but I do have the Holy Spirit working with me to understand these scriptures to prove I'm an Israelite. So it says, and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy power will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So if we did what the Lord told us to do, we would be on high, right? And then it goes into the blessings that we would receive up above, right? Up until you get to what? Verse 15. Now verse 15 says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe and to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. All right, and you have idiots out there saying, oh, those things could fit anybody. Okay, then who are the children of Israel? Who are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Because last time I checked, this doesn't fit everybody, first off. Right? Because you like to say, okay, well, if we're not the Israelites, then who is? If it's not us, if it's not the blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, then who is it? And those that descend from those men. Who is it then? Right? Because here it says, curse you'll be if you don't do what the Lord tells you. Okay? Now let's go to verse 46. Because there's a lot of curses. Now it just goes into curses. Let's go to verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day. Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Right. So these curses will be upon us for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. That's why, brothers, when we first read the curses, right? You're brand new to this thing and you read the curses, you're like, oh my God, man, this is us. Because who else could it be? You know? Who else would it be? Who else does it fit? You know? Hey, the Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. You know? Who is the godly people on earth? It sure as hell ain't you East Indians. It sure you guys have hundreds of gods. It ain't the Arab, the so-called Arab men. All right? They believe in Allah. You know, they're not Hebrew Israelites. Now, is there Hebrew Israelites among these people? Of course. All right, but whose spirit bears witness with what the words of the Lord says to prove that they're the children of God? The so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, man. And that's how we're able to tell among these other nations who is one of us. All right? They have that zeal. That's another scripture. My people have a zeal of the Lord, have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. That's our people. It's easy. Heathens don't give a shit about being pious. They don't care about the Lord. You know? So these curses would be upon us for a sign and for a wonder. Okay? And what? What are the curses that befell us? Alright? Shoot. Slavery. You know? In the city we would be the tail, and the heathen would be a head. They would get high above us. We would build houses and not inhabit them. You know? And then don't let me get started on the tribes. I'll be here all day. You know what I'm saying? So this is Deuteronomy 28 and 68. I'm going to just get this because we all know this one, oldie but goodie. All right? And you can't tell me this doesn't fit the tribe. Well, it ain't just the tribe of Judah. It's really the northern kingdom as well. This befell us as well. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there... Now, actually, let me slow down. Let me break this down piece by piece. So it says the Lord will bring us into Egypt again with ships. Is there ever a historical event where Jewish people were brought into Egypt again with ships? No. Bet. there is a historical event where the so-called Negroes was brought to America with ships, and the so-called North American Indians and Latinos were taken by ships to into slavery as well. All right, because these Edomites, man, they were not taken into slavery by way of ships. They weren't even taken into slavery. They did the slaving of us. You see? And what? Deuteronomy 28:68, man. Hey, we would go into bondage again with ships. Because we were shipped all over. And we went into bondage by way of ships. We were shipped everywhere. Northern Kingdom was shipped to Spain. You know? Some Northern Kingdom was shipped to Spain. Some Gadites, Reubenites, right? Were shipped. And what? It says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. What will we not see? Our land. That's why we're far away from home, right? And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall redeem you. A lot of simpletons like to say, see, no one would buy you. That didn't happen. You guys were bought. And it's like, bro, you got to use your common sense. So where, because then you're calling the Most High a liar, because then that means that when did this happen? When did Deuteronomy 28:68 happen if nobody in history has ever been taken to another land, sold, and nobody wanted to buy them? When did that happen then? Since y'all are so intelligent and think y'all know the scriptures, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. You know? And that's the thing, man. The person that made that video is an Israelite, more than likely. You know? Probably. I don't know. He sounded like a goofball, but that doesn't matter. You don't have to, have all that swagger to be an Israelite. But that zeal of the Most High, even though, that dude's just showing a zeal for hating on us, you know? Romans 10:2. I'll start at 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. Right? So our people have a zeal of the Most High. It's just not according to knowledge. You see? That's another indicator of who the people, the Lord, who's the Lord's chosen people are. We have a zeal. Our people always have a zeal for the Most High. That's why it's so easy to find out who our people are among these heathen. You gonna find, guess what? You gonna find them at a Christian church, singing their heart out and dancing their heart out. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy to spot Jake out sometimes, man. You know? And that's how we prove that we're an Israelite. It's not the world's deepest breakdown. It's quite simple. The curses befell only a group of people on this earth. There's no multiple, everybody's went into slavery at some point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if everybody at one point was in chains and shackles. Those curses befell a very specific group of people. And guess what? To this day. Those things are going on to this day. The Israelites, so-called Black, Hispanics, Native Americans, are at the bottom. Who is at the forefront of the smear campaign with this whole immigration stuff? Issachar, Zebulon, the tribes, Northern Kingdom. Immigration, ICE is supposed to pick up anybody that's not supposed to be here. Why is the face of it so-called Latinos? Why is the face of crime so-called Negroes? You know? Why is that? Why those specific races of people are used to run a smear campaign? Because the one in charge is the so-called white man, the so-called Edomite, the so-called white man, the Edomites, and they're smearing their brother. All right? The so-called Black, Hispanics, Native Americans. That's the curses upon us. So no, we're not going to be uncomfortable because you want to prove how we're Israel. We'll prove that all day long. We'll go into the 12 tribes chart, break down every single tribe, and bring out fire precepts for that ass, man. All right? Now, we ain't in no debating spirit at all. Matter of fact, I have another one. Romans chapter 2, one of my favorites, and 14. For when the Gentiles, and there goes these Christians' favorite words, the word Gentiles, right? For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves. Now, I love this precept because how do I apply this, right? When you go into the tribes and you go into, our different law, statutes, and commandments, right? Because the word Gentile here is being used for Israelites that are in a heathenistic state of mind, or an Israelite that has what you would call lost his way, because that means that we don't have the law. Because what? At one point, we lost it. Gad, Reuben, Issachar. At one point, we lost the law, statutes, and commandments and just went by word of mouth and went by, different ways and worshiping other gods. But by nature, we did the things contained in the law. By nature, we have a zeal of the Most High. That's the first commandment. Seeking the Lord. Having no other gods before the Most High. We have that zeal, right? To worship the Lord and not to worship idols, right? There's so many other things, man. For example, one of my favorite ones, the fringes, man. Look at Gad, look at Reuben, look at Issachar with the ponchos. The fringes are still there. That's the things contained within the law. No, none of you heathen was doing that. That's our thing. That was contained within our law, and we did that. You understand? See, those are the things that were contained in the law, and we did it by nature because it was within our spirit to do it. See, you people think that you're going to come and destroy our doctrine. This ain't ours. This is from up above, man. And it's all spiritual, man, because I was actually going to do a lesson about how the Lord hath chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. But, hey, the Spirit wanted this one to come out instead, man. All right? It says, having not the law or law unto themselves. Hey, look, man. You can't sit here and convince us that we're not the Israelites, man. And since you want to talk about it, hey, you never know, man. Hey, the Israelites might see your video, and a plethora of videos proving of how we're the Israelites are gonna come out on your ass, man. See, that's the thing, man. This is of the Most High. You can't overthrow it. You don't have enough precepts. There's way more precepts proving the truth than you can use to prove your lies, and that's plain and simple. So that's all I wanted to bring out, man. I only got a few minutes left. Like I said, I'm at the plantation. I hope this was edifying. I'm going to give all praises going on to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak, double honors unto my elders and apostles, a great millstone, which are the men that rule, one taught us his truth. Peace, blessings, salutations, as always, to thee. Man, I hope the point was made. Shalom.